how are the impacts of CAFOs on the environment different from traditional independent farms?
Well, I think they're different in several different respects, but one of them has to do with the concentration of animals. You're concentrating so many animals in one particular spot that it's just very difficult to handle the waste from that in such a way that it doesn't create an environmental problem, particularly on water quality issues, or water pollution is one of the main ones, because when you're trying to spread the manure, for example, in a proximity to these large confinement animal feeding operations, it doesn't really pay economically to spread it a long distance, and so they end up over applying it in that particular operation. So that's one of the ways in which it causes environmental problems. The other issue is that the nature of the production system is fundamentally different in that in these operations, particularly in hog operations that have the pits under the hogs where they concentrate the manure or catch the manure in these pits, then, or even when they put the manure out into what they call lagoons, which are big cesspools, then the breakdown or decomposition of the manure takes place in an anaerobic environment. It means it takes place without oxygen, which creates a whole different set of chemical compounds and pollutants in that process than you would have if the animals were out on pastures and they were actually spreading the manure themselves, and it would be decomposing in the presence of oxygen. So there's other things, but I think those are the two main points. It's decomposed in a way that creates an additional risk, and then it's simply the volume that you have to handle in a confinement operation.
So when I'm hearing you talk about this, it sounds to me like it's more of a systemic problem that we're experiencing, because it seems like you're describing the effects of the concentration of the animals and the way that the manure is being stored and applied, and it seems like it's, especially in terms of the environmental impact, is it right to say that it's affecting the system as a whole? I
think it is a systemic process. I think it's inherent within the confinement animal feeding operation within that system. Now there's things that you can do to a certain extent to mitigate some of those, and you know, we're also just not talking about polluting the water but polluting the air, and there's things that you can put, biofilters and things of this nature, that lessen the risk, and there's management practices that you can use that will lessen the risk of pollution. But we consistently, where we see a large number of CAFOs operate in a particular place, then we see the pollution problems, the air, the water, the whole range of it. So it indicates that ultimately it's in that system, not just the individual operator, although the individual operator, of course, is responsible for operating that system in a socially responsible way.